Well, Kirby Smart talked about it just after the college football playoff rankings were revealed for the final time. But anyway, he was talking about how Georgia's defense has got to play better, and boy, do they in the passing game. They're going up against Ohio State, a team that can just really throw it. This is what Kirby said on the ESPN show. He said, "We played really good complementary football, but we can't play the kind of defense we played last night against LSU." This was a couple of weeks ago, of course, and expect to be any kind of champions, semifinal, or national championship. We've got some work to do, and I know our guys will be excited to get back to work. It really boils down to how you play, not who you play. Hey, listen, man, those of us who played college ball understand you got to play well all the time. It's not it's the way you play. It's how you play. It really is. We talked about that a lot back in the day. It does matter how you play, which comes down to practice. Just straight up. That's really important. I think what we're going to see here. We've seen Georgia lose one bowl game under Kirby Smart, and that was the Texas game. And I don't know if y'all recall that game, but I've got a very quick story about it, real quick. Hey, listen, make sure you're picking up DAWGSTRUCTION today. I can get it into the mail Tuesday morning and it'll be all right, but get it today. Uh, Order it now so I've got 10 books left. That's it. So it's not about Christmas necessarily. It's about y'all ordering it. Get them now. Number two, if you want tickets to the Peach Bowl, Ticket IQ is no nonsense. I've told the story several times. I looked around for some secondary market tickets to a very uh, exclusive concert, if you want to call it that. I went with Ticket IQ because the fees elsewhere were insane. $400 in fees I would have had to pay. So it's just what it is. Go with Ticket IQ. Um, they are supporting us. Please support them by checking them out. I know there's a lot of folks who are still in the secondary market. So, you know, Liberty Bowl, year one, Georgia wins that game. Year two, they win the Rose Bowl. I mean, they lose the national championship. We're talking about bowl games. I don't know what the championship is. I don't know. Uh, a year after that, they lose to Texas. And Kirby essentially said amongst the group, we're not making that mistake again. He felt like they really were not honed in the way they needed to be for that Sugar Bowl. Now, what did he do? I know that this is secondhand information, but I completely trust the person that said it. I'm not going to mention the player. But headed into the Baylor Sugar Bowl a year later, there was a particular player that was trying to decide whether they were playing or not. And Kirby basically said, "Hey, listen, if you've not decided yet, you've already decided. We're moving forward. Thanks for all your time at Georgia." That was the way it was described to me. Um, whether that was someone that was angry at the time or not, or they didn't get all of the things that were said correctly said, I don't know. But the focus has been on winning the bowl games. And in that time, we've seen Georgia win the Liberty Bowl, then the Rose, lost in the Sugar, and then winning the Sugar, winning the Peach, winning the Orange. Those and what I kind of get back to is, do you think that the four wow, it's a 4 week period, maybe? I mean, with the Peach Bowl, it wasn't really a 4 week period because they played that Mizzou game um, like on December 11th or something like that. And that Georgia team was still, quite frankly, was still figuring itself out. JT had only played what two games that year, I think it was. It wasn't a lot. Three headed into the Peach Bowl. That was it. They played December 12th, which would have been last weekend in the calendar, the weekend that Stetson was at the Heisman. So they played sort of a week after the traditional SEC championship game. Well, the long story short is they didn't have as much traditional time as they do. Is that the reason they struggled against Cincinnati? I don't know. I thought Cincinnati was pretty good. It turned out they were. Uh, that was a team that I thought Georgia could lose to. They didn't, but they didn't play great on offense that day. That was actually JT's worst game. I think perhaps with the exception of the Clemson game, but the Cincinnati game, he didn't play unbelievable in that game. Well, my question, if you want to call it that, is does that mean that Georgia, um, you know, when they get into practice mode and they can sort of practice for three weeks. You know, week after Heisman week after Heisman, which was this past week, and then week towards Christmas, which is this week. That's three weeks of practice, or they can't all be practices, by the way. That's 3 weeks of uh, meetings and lifting, and just getting your mind right, the way we used to say it, for the bowl game. Is that what they're doing in that time? Does the extra practice, is the extra time, does it help them hone in? Because the only time we've seen them play bad really was against Texas. The defense played pretty well against Cincinnati, Azeez Ojulari and company, and they had some guys opt out in that game too. Nobody opted out obviously last year, and I'm not aware and don't expect anyone to opt out. Well, Bill Norton did, and now he's at Arizona. So you don't have the traditional. You know everyone that's going to play in this game, obviously, by now. I remember for the Sugar Bowl, I'm trying to remember who it was. Um, the one guy that was the captain for the season and didn't play in the bowl game, and then J.R. Reed, and then he didn't even get drafted. It's like, hey man, you should have played, and that's the thing to me is, if you have the ability, I think Nick Saban's correct. If you have the ability to play one more game, particularly if you're not a top 15 guy, you can really help yourself by playing. Could you get hurt and hurt yourself? Yes, you could. But, you could have gotten hurt against Florida or against South Carolina earlier in the year. You know, um, it's all dependent on the person. But at the same time, often you really can help yourself by playing. But anyway, I think the thing about this game and this situation is, um, Georgia is coming into this with a little bit of momentum, right? I mean, Kirk Herbstreit talked earlier about how Georgia's the hottest team. He was asked on Saturday who the hottest team is. Everyone agreed it's Georgia. We've not heard a lot from Georgia. They're going to have one media availability before Christmas with Kirby. That's it from this point forward. So that's not much, right? So we'll have seen Kirby twice in front of the media, once in front of ESPN, in his time from the SEC championship to uh, you know the Peach Bowl. So he's probably eaten up. Media has probably eaten up not even an hour of his time over the last 3 weeks. So what is he doing with that extra hour, right? Nothing, nothing serious. But it does this period of time, and going back to what he said, you know, they, I think they kind of get in there, and for lack of a better term, nerd out about what they can do. And he knows that defensively they're going to have a fight on their hands with Ohio State. Keeley, uh, Kamari Lassiter, Christopher Smith, Malachi. These guys are all guys that are going to have to play well, hang in there. You know, Ohio State's going to make plays. CJ Stroud's too good if he's consistent. He's too good to not make plays. So, um, I think what Kirby says, usually I'm dead on with him about that. But having played back in the day, it is how you play. I mean, who you play can make it more complicated, but y'all don't make any confusion about it. If Georgia plays at its peak or at its best, they will not lose. They just won't. They're too good. So it really is about this 3 weeks, getting, or 4 weeks, really what it was. This 4 week period of time, getting yourself the most prepared to win in a big way. If you can do that now, that will show off or show out when they play in the Peach Bowl. I think it's an important game for a lot of different reasons. Obviously, you cannot develop a legacy without winning another national championship. Excuse me. You can further develop your legacy by winning another championship for Georgia. Kirby right now is on the precipice of being the best coach in college football today. Not the best coach of all time. That's Nick, but the best coach today. But it does come down to these games, and they're going to have to. The practice matters a lot, not just everywhere, but it matters a lot at Georgia. And having been through way too many practices, I can tell you that you can lose concentration. There's times when things seem important and you're not all there. And that's where the coaches and the players too have to step up and pay attention to their moment. Be where you're at and all that coaching slang. It really is true. They've got to replicate the same thing every single day and take advantage of their situation. But they do have to play better if defensively if they want to win this game. Offensively, I mean, I think scoring 40, 50 points is that's going to work almost all the time. But I also don't think you'd overreact to what happened with LSU. I mean, LSU hit some big balls with a quarterback coming in that Georgia didn't necessarily expect to see, and they played well, and they lost by 20.